So the answer to the question, what is this? This is the supercharger for a Cord 812, specifically a Beverly, which is the four-door version. But I'll tell you a little bit about the car, and then I'll show you how this works, because I find it interesting, and I assume somebody else might also. So this is the Cord 812, also lovingly known as the coffin nose cord. But what a lot of people don't know about these is they're very advanced for their age. This is actually a front-wheel drive car. This has a electro vacuum pre-selector for the trans. You don't actually shift traditionally with rods, and you use what's called a pre-selector. And I'll show you. There's the pre-selector there. You can see the electro connections, and you can see the vacuum, and that's all controlled. I'll show you in a second. And this has a Lycoming V8. These were typical of the supercharged, although from what I understand, you could have ordered them separately. And one of the interesting things, we have got hidden headlights, which is very far ahead of its time. And you can see the trans is here at the front, and the front of the engine's out actually back there. This is the flywheel side. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see the suspension in that, but so we got the doors open backwards. We got some cool features like, here's how you open the headlight. Let's see. You see it's up. And of course, you get to do them one at a time. So after you do one, then you got to go to the other side and do that. You also have these outside vents, which would come down underneath, but you also have these vents, which opens the window so you can get air more directly in. You also have the machine-turned dash that was very popular in the 70s Firebirds. Nice controls, and this is it's hard to show with the steering wheel, but this is the pre-selector. So you would put this where you want it, push in the clutch, and let out, and it would automatically go into that gear. So as you would drive, you would start with, and you would switch. That's easy to do one-handed, but it's an incredibly interesting vehicle. So I'll go back to the supercharger and I'll show you how that works. So here you can see that there's a drive in the center here, and this actually turns the vanes, and it's overdriven. I'm not going to take it apart for this video, but it's overdriven, which means the vanes on the other side turn faster than the input. So what drives that? We've got this goes into here, and then we have this bevel gear, and from there, let me see where I put my other gear. All right, I set my gear down somewhere else, but this gear goes here to run this, and this is mounted to the crank, to the camshaft. So, and then of course this is overdriven also. You can see the size difference between the two gears. So this one spins much greater than this. Although this is spun at cam speed, which would be half speed of a crank. But I believe this is spins probably 4 times every time this one spins. Maybe 3, I don't know, I didn't do the math. And then the same with the other end. So what you have is the vane spins quite a bit faster. And that's how you build up the pressure and the boost. You get the most vacuum on one end and the most pressure on the other end. And I'll show you where these go. I actually had run into a setback, which is why I didn't do a video earlier. I was trying to decide what to do. So this car actually left the factory. It's documented by the VIN number and through the Cord Club of America that this car for sure left the factory with the supercharger, and so at some point it was restored and the supercharger disappeared. It had nothing to do with me. It predates me by 2 decades before I even ever saw this car. So I had sourced a supercharger for it, and I checked the block. The block matches the car, and then there was a stamp. I forget what it was right offhand. It's like either it was FB or FC, and if it's a C, it's supercharged, and if it's B, it was not. So it's all stamped correctly. But what we see here is you don't have a supercharged cam. Well, let me show you. If this was a supercharged cam, this would be threaded right here, because then this would go on here, and then you'd lock the threads. But it's not. It's not threaded. So that's not a supercharged cam. Then once that's in place, this would go here, and you would shim your bevel. And then this is actually supposed to be machined to match here, but that's not machined, or it's welded closed. I don't know what's going on. There's going to be some other story to this car that I won't be able to resolve. So, well, that's the answer. That's how it works. I know a lot of you were curious. Well, there was, I guess, one other thing I wanted to point out. Some of you had thought perhaps it was like a water pump or something, and you had noticed that like you had, or possibly water pressure driven. I'm assuming that because you guys had seen the outlets and the inlets, like these came off the thermostats, and this goes up to the water pump. That, anyways, it's not water driven at all. However, this manifold is heated. It's common. It helps the fuel atomize, so they tend to bring these up to temperature. At least back then they did. I don't know. The fuel does boost creates heat, so it's possible it meant to keep the heat down and, I guess, maintain a constant pressure, constant temperature, but probably not. They probably just heated it up, so you just have a better fuel atomization. But that's it. That's everything in a nutshell. Thanks for watching.